Actually, at least when it comes to running, there's nothing to be scared of. And everyone should fear the athlete who isn't scared of anything. Welcome to downtown Boulder. This is really special because we have a newborn. I haven't left the house in 10 days, like literally. I'm either training from the house or running on the treadmill or bike. So this is really special. And most of all, this is the route where champions are made. This is the infamous Gold Hill. We start here in downtown Boulder, and you can see Green Mountain there in the background. We're actually going to be above Green Mountain within an hour. And so this run is as much about the downhill, coming off that really getting up to 8,500 feet from here at around a mile high, as it is the uphill. So why does this route make champions? This route makes champions because the uphill, you really can't avoid but make it a threshold workout. Like there's really no way to run up some of the steep grades you're about to see without having your heart rate go into Z3, Z4. So that's a wonderful aerobic stimulus, really good for mechanical power. But that's not much different than the treadmill or what I can do at home. What is very different is when we come back down from Gold Hill, we're running back down those mountains, and that is eccentric muscle contractions to the max. And when you get those types of muscle contractions, what you'll see is in the days after, you'll have delayed onset muscle soreness. You'll get more sore and more sore, especially when I haven't done much of it. But the magic is the body can adapt so fast. In fact, I think it's the coolest adaptation in all of human physiology, where you do these eccentric muscle contractions, you get immensely sore, like 24, 48 hours later. But then if you do it another week later or 2 weeks later, that soreness dissipates by about 75%. And then if you do it again after that, almost 100%. It's magical. Some of it is happening in how the actual muscle fibers themselves change, and some of it is in the nervous system and the ends of the nerve axons and how those change. But that type of stimulus is essential for the races I'm going to do, and it's something I don't do much of overall because it's a huge loading stimulus too. I'm going to be flying down those mountains, hopefully around 5-minute pace. When you do that type of pace down those types of mountains, you're also risking a lot. And at 36 years old, I can't do too much of that without risking my health, my speed, my longevity, my love of the sport, my femurs, basically everything that goes along with it. And that's one of the big revolutions that's happening in trail and ultras right now. It's like our theory is that it's about running economy and getting the strength needed to survive things like this, rather than having this be the focus of all of your work. So this is the hardest adaptation stimulus I'll ever do. Way harder than any of the speed work or anything like that. That's why one of the main things we're doing today is high carb fueling to the max. One of the big reflections I've had and thoughts is essentially, why did my breakthroughs take until age 36, essentially? And I think the simple answer is we didn't have the high carb science until then. And so today, the high carb I'm doing is not just about performance now, it's about adaptation to this day. So the stimulus is so high. And with that in mind, I'm going to be trying to take in 140 to 160 grams of carbohydrates per hour, not something I do outside of these very, very hard, long days where I'm going to be going 21 or 22 miles. I think that what we're essentially seeing is that carbs make incredible things possible. So 6 beta fuel gels, each of these is 40 grams of carbs. I'll probably be taking a whole thing. I'll have some backup with Director Cody. 2 100 milligram caffeine gels from Precision. They're amazing. And then I have 4 bottles here, which we're going to be handing off throughout, all of which have 20 grams of Scratch, a couple of which have Precision 1000 tabs. So that is a lot of fuel. A couple other things. First is my sweet shoes. These are the Adidas Agravic Speed Ultra shoes, and what I wanted to show you really quickly was how I lace them. So if you've ever worn these are trail shoes that are relatively unstable. This is right out of the box. I've never worn them for a run yet. I have to pay for these, even though, I'm trying to do these big impossible things. I'm an unsponsored athlete. I'm a dirtbag runner over here, just making the best with what I got. Okay, so you tighten them nice and good. Then we can even fast forward through this. You can see, make little loops with the extra hole, and you can do this with any of your shoes. Then you have 2 loops here. The special way I do it with these particular shoes is I lace under the tongue, I don't even know what you call that, strap, and then through the hole. If you don't have the tongue strap, you can still do the lacing through the hole. It's the ideal lacing technique for basically any shoe you have, I think, because it locks it down without having to tie it too tight. There we go. So then you get a nice lockdown on that, and then you just tie your shoe as normal. And what I find is that the shoe doesn't move around. So if you're on trails with a shoe that's a little bit unstable like this, you can get the benefit of the carbon plate that's in here, but still be nice and nimble. Right now, I'm putting Adidas shoes center stage. You saw me wearing Nike shoes before. You've seen me wearing Hoka's. And, like, I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just trying to tell you what I do. And for full transparency, I went to Adidas and pitched, like, oh, here's a good partnership. And it just didn't work out. And I think the big thing I'm trying to do on this channel is be honest with you about, like, it's a rough world out there, even after you might achieve the things you want to achieve. And that's why, as I try to chase this impossible goal of, winning Western States and everything else, it's not about actually doing that thing I'm saying. It's about the dream and the chase and the fire that comes with that. And so let's go do some fiery things. As I'm doing this ridiculous ankle weight warm-up thing that you've already seen on multiple channels, I want to do one more reflection before I got started. The first is, this has been incredibly invigorating and so much fun. The comment section on these videos is giving me so much joy in the process, and thank you for that. Like, I have never been more astounded and just inspired by a group of people than the people who have watched the first 2 videos, so thank you. But I had one more reflection that I wanted to share. It's on my phone, hence me bringing out my phone, not just texting in the middle of this conversation, but it's on pressure. And, I'm not the favorite in all the races I do. And I think a lot of people not only don't think I'm capable of it, they actively root against me, just if you're realistic about this. Not in the YouTube comments, thankfully. You guys are freaking amazing. But this week I was tagged by an incredibly prominent person in trail running who I really respect. And he wrote something that I think is a wonderful reflection before I get going. So this is to motivate me as much to describe you where we're going. So he said, you know what? Roach is putting a ton of pressure on himself. That typically does not bode well for fine performances. He has the ability to slay it, but the pressure will eventually break down the mind. Hope I'm wrong. It's going to be a good race as always. So the pressure will eventually break down the mind. And then he followed up, Roach had no pressure at Leadville. It was his first 100, and I only found out about it after he ran it. There was no hype. I've had plenty of personal experience with pressure. When I lay low, I run better. When I did interviews, etc., I ran worse. Just my experiment of one. Okay, so I thought a lot about pressure in the context of that. And I think the big thing that we need to know as runners and as people is that pressure can be fun. Like, yeah, it's a privilege. Yeah, it creates diamonds and all those good sayings. But more than anything, sports, training, all of this is play. We're in our backyard just having a good time. And so, yes, pressure is there. And I am giving it to myself to the max by putting myself in the thick of a conversation that, I don't know, maybe I don't have a right to be in some people's eyes at least. But to me, that's what it's all about. Put yourself in the freaking conversation. Step into the arena. Step into the arena of Gold Hill that we're about to step into, or whatever the equivalent is for you. And so when I look at pressure, I essentially say, look, any of that external pressure, as long as the fear of failure is something you grapple with and don't actually let it take control, you're golden. So when I step up to Western States, like, I guarantee on that start line, yeah, there'll be pressure. And yeah, I might fail. But if I failed and if I DNF'd that race, I would come back with just as much love and strength because I have failed so many times before. And in that failure, learned that there is nothing to fear. Waiting on the other end of not meeting some sort of lofty expectation or external pressure is just more joy, more things to pursue, and more love. And so at the end of the day, pressure is love. Love of sport, love of life, love of your community. So let's go out there right now and show what love's all about. Let's do the damn thing. And now I go do my little jog. Ankle weights and super shoes, doing what we do. Okay, actually, before we go, a very direct description of the workout itself so people understand what we're getting into. So right here, we are starting at Drew Holman, a famous ultra runner and one of my best friends' old house. It's a famous location in Boulder, good place to start. And then it's 1 mile up to Centennial Trailhead, which is a good place to go to the bathroom, reset a little bit before the main part of the climb. And so the climb from there to Gold Hill is about 9 miles with a little over 3,000 feet of climbing. In those miles, I'm gonna let my heart rate go up into zone 3 and zone 4. Actually, I forgot my heart rate monitor today, but I know my feel well enough. So it'll turn into quite a beefy threshold workout, essentially 2 by 20 minutes. Once we get to Gold Hill, we'll reset, get some more carbs, and then bomb back down the mountain. And I'll be taking in lots of carbs because one of the big principles is when you're running down the mountain, you do not want your legs to be held together by kale. Kale is amazing, but it's not going to be what keeps you healthy and keeps you adapting. I want my legs to be held together with a ton of carbs, with French fries, with pizza, with burgers, with all of the things that go into just making you a robust athlete. Because the biggest theme to remember from a training perspective is that running is a power sport. Big dreams take much bigger action. So let's not just talk about it, let's be about it. See you guys. Legs feel so good. This is gonna turn into a hard one. I can't wait. It's gonna be a good day. It's the day that makes champions. So happy that you're here with me. And let's see what history can do. We got this. Our big theory is that everything comes from your running economy. So making faster paces take less effort, and that includes climbing. So climbing is essentially a speed equation mixed with a little bit of strength. And so today was about building up that strength, both mentally and physically. The mountain doesn't get smaller. Left foot, right foot. As I came around some of the first steep switchbacks, I realized that, all right, the way that this day is going to unfold, there's a little bit of ice on the road, but the steep parts that are really sun exposed are totally clear. And I'm gonna use the steep parts to push a little bit more and embrace that feeling. Okay, things are about to get 15-20% grade. Daunted right now. So happy you're here. Took another gel. Finishing this bottle. We're 24 minutes, almost 3.5 miles. This next part we call the wall. This is why we're here. What a privilege. Pressure's a privilege. I love you guys. Here we go. We got this shit. Love you. I used to shy away from pain, from discomfort, from that like athletic feeling of your brain telling you to stop. Like there's a little panic, right? And that's not talked about enough. That even in elite athletes, their brain is telling you stop, stop, stop. And that feeling, recontextualizing it to a place of like, oh, this is a signal. This is your body giving you the same amount of care that like you want your your friends to or whatever. Your brain is trying to be your friend. And if you tell your brain back like, oh, this is okay, and just lean forward into the climb and left foot, right foot it, your brain actually starts to interpret those signals differently. And on days you're fresh and things feel good like today, I was looking forward to it. Every time it got steep, I was like, this is it. This is why we're here. So I'm a little scared, but this is where pressure on race day, it's nothing compared to the pressure of grinding up a mountain off of 5 hours of sleep. Love you guys. Cody, be careful. Rock on! And then got to the famous section where Sunshine Canyon, this road up to Gold Hill, puts on the hurt. That's the Strava segment for it. I used to thrive when things were effortless, And now I thrive when things are really fucking hard. Love you guys. Huzzah! Woo. Seeing the splits after, the steep climbing was next level from anything I've ever done. And, I think it's because that, I've just done the high carb fueling enough and put enough bricks in the wall over 18 years that things are adding up. But mostly I think it's, 2 weeks ago when on the last video you saw, I went to places on that treadmill workout that I haven't been, and I don't go very often. And by doing that, it just unlocked a little bit more in my brain of that feeling of pain, of panic, or whatever you want to call it, just got pushed back slightly. And there's more space in there now. Hell yeah. Gold Hill. Beautiful little old town. Shocked myself on that run. Thank you so much. I was thinking of you guys so much. So, I believe 107 up, one of the fastest times ever with, a lot of the road being snow like this at the top. Couldn't be happier. Let's do a little gel count. So 40 grams. So right now at 115 total with the warm up. 40 grams, 40 grams, 40 grams. So 120 plus 30, 150 plus bottle and a half. So 30 more. So 180 grams in 75 minutes. So doing good. Ready to hammer the downhill now. The fun part. Thanks so much for being here. It's just awesome. Director Cody was giving me the best cheers, and this is how he wins, because you guys, because I am accessing parts of my brain that I haven't seen before, of just wanting it for people that care. So thank you. This isn't about me, and that's where I thrive. So cheers to Gold Hill, cheers to 8,900 feet, whatever this is, and most of all, cheers to the mountains. It's a little bit of a place of worship. So all right. Let's go use gravity to our advantage. Gravity. My quads are going to be achingly sore because I haven't done these types of downhills in a second. But in terms of my nervous system, in terms of my overall recovery, I'm golden. And that's what it's about nowadays. It's not just about fueling the day, but what it's most about is how it's unlocking the levels of performance we never dreamed possible day, over week, over month. And that's what I'm leaning on to Western States, because even though I'm solid right now, I'm nowhere close to where a course record at Western States would be. Not even close. If we bring out a telescope, we wouldn't see it yet. But what I'm counting on is some compound growth that comes from the way I'm fueling training. Because what happens, and it's really interesting in studies too, when someone fuels this type of high carb amount, they, on subsequent days, have less creatine kinase, so less muscle breakdown. And most importantly, their rate of perceived exertion is way lower and their day-over-day performance is way better. So if you test someone 24 hours after this type of stimulus, when they fuel enough, they are just monstrously better. And when you think about that magnified over weeks and months and years, you're starting to see, oh, that's why what we thought was human endurance is nowhere close.
All right, slurp in action. 1, 2, 3. All gone. Taking it like a shot. Woohoo! Currently at 20 miles, 6:39 pace, 3,500 feet of climbing. So now we just got to add the cherry on top. Suffer just a little bit. Lots of carbs, lots of fire in my belly. Also, a few trips to the Porta potty, just to be fully honest.
And then at the end of the entire run, I wanted to stop and wanted to just be like, all right, how often are you at mile 20 of a run and you've put in all of these kilojoules of work, you're tired, and you get to do a fatigue resistance stimulus. And so I did 5 by 30 second hills, which were optional in the plan today.
Maybe this should be the end, but tan up there. I don't know if the camera can get it, but that kind of looks like hell on earth right now. It's a ramp straight up. And the plan is to do 4 by 30 second, maybe 4 by 45 second, depending how long it is. This is to activate all the muscle fibers, get the fatigue resistance going, and hopefully not die.
The idea there is that at the end of this long day, you recruit all of those muscle fibers, and maybe you'll start to see some signal that can improve how your nervous system performs after it's under a ton of load.
This is harder than Leadville, Javelina, root canals, getting hit by this car.
A fascinating study came out this last year that looked at what separates cyclists who are the top performers at the very elite professional level versus cyclists at the elite professional level that aren't able to do that at the end of races. And one of the main findings that they saw is that athletes that are able to perform at that level click into carb oxidation very well at the end of really big days. Fascinating little finding, didn't really mean much except to some coaches that were paying attention, like us, because we're like, oh, maybe there's a connection there that by being able to click into carbox after that much work, you're also training the nervous system to access parts of endurance that it might never really get to access. You know, that's where science interacts with art, and we're finding who knows what works. But in that uncertainty, maybe we can also explore the edges of human physiology.
One more. These suffering's a skill. Excuse me, sorry. Oh. Thanks, all for being there. I was thinking a lot about pressure and just how it's so cool to get this little window into, I don't know, a whole community out there that's rooting for me or even rooting against me. It just cares, you know? So, thank you.
Because I'm running these without headphones, which is totally abnormal for me, right? I do all this solo training with music or podcasts or whatever. I got to essentially reflect on, like, death. What better thing to reflect on when your brain's panicking about something inconsequential, like a little bit of discomfort running up a steep hill? What a privilege it is. And most of all, what a privilege it is to be here right now with this video broadcasting out to tens of thousands of people. Like, I don't know, it's such a small little window into the idea that in the scary parts, the parts of like, oh, what is going to happen in Western states? What if I DNF? What if I get injured? What if whatever? It's like there's so much uncertainty all the time. And how cool is it that in athletics, we can explore that uncertainty and know that what's waiting on the other side for us is learning and love and toughness. And so for me, what somebody else calls pressure, I just call love. Like, it's just the ability to invest yourself in something so fully, knowing that it's all uncertain and impermanent and we're going through the same stuff. You know, like I always look to the athletes who are chasing cutoffs or running their first mile as my ultimate inspiration, because like the elite athletes, their stories have never really resonated with me, because usually it's like, I just push real hard and eventually it happens for me. For me, it's the people that get out there having no external incentive and no certainty about where it's going other than the fact that we get one shot at life. And how cool is it to get to spread your wings so aggressively and so unapologetically that you show up to the start line of a race, whether it's a 5K or a 100-mile, being like, I'm gonna freaking go for it. And so what this has taught me, like a scared, sensitive boy, a lot like I'm sure those boys I'm raising will feel one day. What it's taught me as a scared, sensitive boy is that actually, at least when it comes to running, there's nothing to be scared of. And everyone should fear the athlete who isn't scared of anything.
And now the lactate is cleared enough for me to finish the run. Let's go do it. Now we're just gonna finish a little spicy. Fun. All right, all done. 22.1, 6:37 pace, 3,800 feet of climbing. So where I need to be, but still a long way to go. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking out there that, I do almost all my training alone. Reality of having kids and also just being introverted. So thank you for being out there with me. Like, it's like a team. Let's do a quick nutrition check. So 2 more beta fuels, so 40, another 100. That's milligram caffeine gel, so that's another 30, so 110. Plus a bottle, which is 20, so 130 extra. I don't remember how much I had at first, so probably 140 an hour or something like that. And I feel great. That's just the big key because, it's all about adapting to the work. So yeah, running is such a magical sport. If you're out there and you're watching this and you're not running that much or not really running at all, remember, it's just like 5 minutes counts. Walking and running counts. Walking counts. Just getting out there moving is such a magical thing, and getting to share it with people is even more magical. So find some friends, go out there and do something hard, and embrace the pressure. Put it on yourself. Let other people put it on you. It's so damn cool to use this real short time we have here on Earth to just feel something. And if that feeling is failure, fuck yes. Feeling success, also cool, but you don't get anywhere without crashing and burning, doing it in public, getting back up, telling stories. So yeah, let's fail big. Love you guys. Bye. Still thinking of Killian. He's on mountain ridges. I'm on pavement. Love you.